The next Renaissance artist who we will look at is Raphael. Now, Raphael was born in the year 1483, and that meant that he was alive and working at the same time that Michelangelo was alive and working. Raphael was a younger man, Michelangelo was a somewhat older man, and these two men, these two artists, did not get along with each other at all. They were competitors in the sense that both of them were painters, and both of them were competing with each other to be hired by the church and by wealthy individuals to create art for the church and for wealthy individuals. And so there was only one job available. They both wanted it, which means one of them was going to be out of work. They were competitors with each other. But they also did not get along with each other personally. Michelangelo was a very, very difficult person. Raphael was more chill, more laid back, but they simply did not get along. Raphael did, however, get along with Leonardo da Vinci, who was significantly older than Raphael. Leonardo was significantly older than Michelangelo as well. And Leonardo was an old man at the time that Raphael was a young man. They did get along with each other very well. No one got along with Michelangelo. Now, Raphael is famous for really one work of art, or at least we're only going to be focusing on one work of art. And this is that work. This is called the School of Athens. The School of Athens. And this is another example of Renaissance art and Renaissance artists being more interested in artistic beauty than they are in historical accuracy. Because the subject of this painting is supposed to be the Academy by Plato, the school that was founded by Plato in ancient Greece, in ancient Athens. But this is not what the Academy looked like. If you look at the great building in the painting here, if you look at the various architectural and artistic features, this is not what Plato's Academy really looked like. Plato's Academy was actually in an olive grove. It wasn't even inside. It was just out among the trees and nature and the bright sunshine and the fresh air and all that sort of thing. It was not in a great hall of learning the way you see here. Now notice this man right here. This is the man right in the middle of the painting. This represents Plato, the man who founded the Academy, the man who Raphael is representing as having been the most important of all thinkers, of all philosophers throughout history. Do you know who he used as his model for the face of Plato? It's a close-up of the painting. Do you know who his model was? Leonardo da Vinci. Raphael used the face of Leonardo da Vinci as the face of Plato. Now we'll take a look at a few of the other people in the crowd here. Notice this man right here. This is Socrates, who you may remember. He was known as the gadfly of Athens. He's the guy who would approach people in the agora and talk to them, whether they wanted to be talked to or not. And he more or less made a nuisance of himself, or at least many of the people of Athens saw him as a nuisance. He saw himself as helping the people of Athens to learn. And remember, there were many people who liked Socrates, particularly young people. And you'll notice, if you can see closely, he's talking to at least one young adult in the crowd there. This is what Socrates looks like up close in the painting. And this is a very famous bust of Socrates. I think this is in the Vatican today. But this is a bust of Socrates taken from ancient Athens. And we can see the resemblance between Raphael's Socrates and what is probably the true historical Socrates. Now, this gentleman right here is the Greek mathematician and scientist Pythagoras. Now, you may have heard of him, or you may have heard of his work. He is most famous today for what is called the Pythagorean theorem. That's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's something that is extremely important in modern-day mathematics. This, of course, is Mr. Gully's social studies class, not math class, and I will not spend even one moment more time on mathematics. What an absurd proposition. So we will immediately depart from this gentleman. However, he was someone who was represented in Raphael's School of Athens. Now, over here on this side of the School of Athens, we can see the ancient Greek mathematician Euclid. Now, Euclid is known as the father of geometry, and you can see he's got some young people around him, and he's showing them how to do some geometric work. In fact, this guy looks like he's paying just about as much attention in math class as I did. Can't blame him. Now, it's interesting that some experts today believe that the person who Raphael used as the model for the face, or at least the head of Euclid, is this man right here. This man's name was Bramante. His last name was Bramante, and he was a great Renaissance architect. In fact, he was responsible for some of the greatest buildings that the Renaissance ever saw. And so you can imagine why the use of geometry would be relatively important in the use of architecture, particularly some of the great architecture that existed during the time of the Renaissance. Now, if we look over in the crowd, still on this side of the painting, you'll notice there's one more face that we'll point out, and that's this gentleman right here. Can you see him? Here's a close-up. Do you see what Raphael did there? He painted himself into the crowd. He painted himself as though he were just one of the crowd at Plato's Academy in the School of Athens. And just for reference, here is a painting of Raphael. So there is absolutely no question that the young man who Raphael put into the crowd really is a self-portrait. The two images are very, very similar. Let's look at one more person in the crowd, and that is this man right here. Now, Raphael would tell you that this represents the Greek philosopher Heraclitus. However, there are many experts today who believe that the person who Raphael used as the model for this gentleman is none other than Michelangelo himself. Take a look at the man in the painting. What is he doing? He's sitting there all by himself. He has no friends. Nobody's talking to him. Nobody appears to want to talk to him. He's not talking to anybody else. He's just kind of doing his own thing, doing his writing, and not bothering anyone, and no one's bothering him. That's the way Michelangelo was. Michelangelo was someone who was an introvert. He did not like to talk to people. He was difficult. He didn't get along well with others. Others did not get along well with him. He was just not a particularly pleasant person. And that is the way that Raphael has depicted this man here in the foreground. Notice he's also wearing boots. Apparently, Michelangelo had the same pair of boots that he used to wear over and over and over again, and he became known for this old, falling apart pair of boots that he used to wear. Apparently, he very rarely even took the boots off. Even when he slept, he kept the boots on, apparently. And it is widely believed that the boots that Raphael painted onto this person right here are something of a little in-joke, so that everyone would know, everyone who knew Michelangelo and who saw the painting would know that that individual in the painting really is Michelangelo. Now, the School of Athens is similar to The Last Supper by Da Vinci in that it is not a painting that was done on a canvas and then put into a frame. No, the School of Athens is a mural. That is, it was painted directly onto the wall itself. This is what it looks like in the room in which it's located. It's located in one of a series of rooms at the Vatican. The rooms today are actually known as the Raphael rooms because Raphael painted all of the mosaics, or not the mosaics, but the murals that are on the walls. And you can see the School of Athens right here. So it's a fairly large painting. You could see the door that is in the lower corner there. That's a normal sized door for normal sized people. And you can see how large the painting would be compared to all of the other architectural features of the room. Here's another picture of it. Again, you can see the people in the foreground, and you can compare the people in the foreground with how large the painting is in the background. Now, Raphael died eventually, of course, and he was buried in the Pantheon, which is that ancient Roman temple that is still standing. It's the best preserved ancient building in the world today. Today, the nation of Italy, and even during the time of the Renaissance, the nation of Italy used, or the Papal States, used the Pantheon as a final resting place for important people. And this here is Raphael's tomb. It's a sarcophagus. His body is presumably inside of there, and it is located inside the Pantheon even to this day. And just to give you an idea of how large the tomb is within the Pantheon, there's an incredibly handsome person standing right beside it. So, of course, this is the tomb, and this is the person standing beside it, as if you couldn't figure that out on your own. And that is where Raphael was buried and continues to be buried even to this day. One of the Renaissance's greatest artists, one of Italy's greatest artists, someone whose artistic works are still remembered, still seen, and still enjoyed even today. Raphael Sanzio, part of the Renaissance.